Hello there, welcome back to another exciting tutorial here at the Genius Studios Lab. I am Derek Keels, your host, and today we are going to be covering how to make a very clean lower third. This lower third is very, very clean. It actually looks like glass when it's all done, and so it's not very hard to do. And so without much further ado, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to be using two programs today. The first program we're going to be using is Photoshop CS6, and the second program we're going to be using is my favorite program, and that is After Effects. So let's go ahead and get started. What you want to do is you want to go up to File and click New, and then you want to set your parameters or set your size, your width and your height based on the size that your video is going to be, or the video that you're working with actually is. And so since I'm working with a video that's going to be 1920 by 1080, that's what I have mine set to. If you're working with something that's 720p, then you want to set it to 1280 by 720, and so on and so forth. I set my resolution to 400, and the background contents are transparent. And so here we are, we have this kind of a composition opened up, and the next thing we're going to do is I'm just going to click on the rectangle tool and just click and drag a rectangle out, which is going to actually be my lower third. So I have this nice little rectangle here, and then I'm just going to hit Control J to duplicate that. Oop, I duplicated it twice. Duplicate it, and now as you can see, I have two rectangles that are identical to one another. And I'm just going to click on the eyeball on the lower one so that it's hidden, and I'm just going to work with this top one for now. And the first thing I'm going to do is come over here, and I'm going to make the fill, bring the fill all the way down to 0, and then I'm going to double click in this space here to bring up my blending options. Now you could also go up here to layer style and select blending options. It brings up the same window. So anyway, just something to take note of there. So we're just going to change a few parameters here. I'm going to select inner shadow, and I'm going to take the inner shadow down to 10% in the opacity, and I'm going to select the gradient, and I'm just going to leave the gradient as it is. I'm not going to actually adjust the color, but I'm just going to take the opacity down to 13%, and then I'm going to click on the drop shadow, and I'm going to take the drop shadow's opacity down to 14%, and then hit enter, and now there it is. Now I know you probably can't really see it on your screen, but there actually is something there. I can show you really quickly that there is indeed something there by just dropping a quick background in. You see? There it is. So this is my lower third, which looks pretty good. Looks clear. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click back on this rectangle that I had hidden prior to, and I'm going to just slide it up just a bit, like so, and just got rid of that red layer because we don't really need it. Slid it up, and then I'm going to right click and hit rasterize layer. So now I can take my marquee tool and I can select part of it, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of move it up to about right here or so, and I'm going to delete that part of the rectangle. Perfect. And Control D, and perfect. Now I'm all done with Photoshop, so I'm going to save this. I'm going to say File, Save As, and I'm going to save it as Glass Lower Third 2, and then just hit Save and hit OK, and OK. Perfect. That's good. So now I'm going to go over into After Effects now, and I've already got some footage that I've already placed in After Effects, and I have a composition that's open. It's 1920 by 1080, and the duration is 10 seconds, but yours will be obviously whatever yours is. Just turn off the sound there real quickly. Okay, now I'm going to go up here to File, and I'm going to go to Import File, and I'm going to find my lower third that I just created, which is going to be Glass Lower Third 2, I believe is what I named it. Yes. And I'm just gonna leave it as footage, what kind it asks, and I'm just gonna leave it as footage and say okay. It merges everything together, and then I'm gonna bring this out over top of my composition. As you can see, now we have this lower third. It kind of looks like glass. Now, there's one thing I wanted to show you, something I purposefully left undone. I'm looking at this, and as you can see, this white line that I have is, you know, pretty big and bold. You know, if I go like this, you can see it. It's a pretty bold white line. Let's say, oh, I don't really like how bold that white line is, but I want to make it, you know, if it's going to be glass, then I want to make it more transparent. Well, you can come right back over here to Photoshop, and you can adjust it. And so I'm going to go to my lower rectangle here, and I'm going to make my lower rectangle 50% opacity. So now it's at 50% opacity, and all I have to do is come up here and say File, Save, and then once that is saved, I can go back into After Effects, and I can come over here and I can hit Reload Footage just by right-clicking, and there you have it. So it went from, you know, being completely opaque to being somewhat transparent. So that's something you can do. That's now that looks a lot better. It's going to look a lot more like glass. That's something you can do. So if you are doing something in Photoshop, you can work with a file in Photoshop, bring the file directly into After Effects. If you don't like it, you can go right back into Photoshop, edit the file, hit save. When you go into After Effects, all you have to do is right click on the element that you brought in and say reload footage, and it will reload the newest saved one. So anyway, that's that. Now next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of animation and some effects, if you will, in After Effects. So I'm just going to get rid of this footage so we can see a little bit better. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a light sweep, just by typing in light sweep, and I'm just going to click, and I'm going to bring it on over to my Photoshop layer. And it's going to be something that's fairly subtle, but I'm just going to beef it up just because I'm not sure if on the screen you can actually see what's happening. So I'm going to beef up the light sweep here just a little bit. There we go. So you can see it now. Technically speaking, I wouldn't actually do it with this much intensity, but I'll go ahead and do it just so you can see it. So I'm going to start over here, and I'm going to keyframe it. And so I'm going to click on the stopwatch where it says center, and I'm going to go to the 3-second mark, and I'm going to just move this over here like so. And I'm going to go ahead and hit U to bring up my keyframes, and then I'm going to go to the 6-second mark, and I'm going to put another keyframe that's actually in the same position. And then I'm going to go into the 9-second mark, and I'm going to move it back like so. Now if I RAM preview this, you can see that the light sweep is going to go across a few times, and that's it. So that really gives sells the whole glass look just a little bit. See, as you can see, this is something that is very simple to do. Alright, I'm actually going to move these down. I don't want that light sweep to move until we animate it in. So I'm going to just select all of these keyframes and just move them down 1 second. Perfect. And I'm going to click on the Photoshop layer and just hit P to bring up the position. And because we're going to animate this in, I'm going to slide this off of the screen, if you will. Just hold down shift and move it a little faster. Perfect. And I'm going to hit the stopwatch, and at 1 second I want it to be all the way in, so we'll bring it to here or so. Perfect. So now it's going to animate in, and the light sweep is going to go across just like that. Perfect. Now if I bring my footage back in, we can kind of take a look at what we have. It's a very, very clean lower third. Very, very subtle. And yes, very clean. We're gonna add a few more things here. I'm just gonna add some text to this lower third, and just by clicking and making a text box, and I'm going to say clean lower third. Capitalize this T for you. All right, and we're just gonna pick a color for this text. Let's see, we'll pick something off of her blouse here. We may. That'll work. All right, this is not a font I would probably normally use, but that's gonna have to do for now. We're gonna shrink it down, put it here like so, and make it maybe a little darker so we can see it. Okay, and then I'm gonna add a drop shadow to that. So I just come over here and type in drop shadow and click and drag it over to the words so that it comes up off the substrate just a little bit. And we're also going to animate this in. So I'm going to click on the text layer, and we're going to hit T to bring up the opacity and bring it down to 0. I want it to stay at 0. I'm going to hit the stopwatch here. Oh, it's not at 0 actually. I need it to be 0. It's on 3%. All right, now we're going to hit the stopwatch, and I'm going to move it on to 2 seconds. And at 2 seconds, I want it to be 100%, like so. And let's just RAM preview that and see what it looks like. It's going to slide out, and then the words are going to appear on. There we go. Bam. Very, very clean, very subtle, very nice, very clean. Next thing we're going to do is I'm just going to add a lens flare to those words as well. Something really simple, just a preset lens flare that's already here. I'm going to add the lens flare in, and there we go. And I'm going to animate the lens flare as well. And we're going to start out. Click on the flare center, and over here, and move this flare across like so. And then we just hit the RAM preview. And let's see what we got going on. Okay, perfect. So anyway, as you can see, it's something that's very, very simple to do. It's not really, really hard. And there you have a very, very clean, very nice, clean lower third, and it's really, really subtle. And of course, you can use this in all different kinds of ways. I know that making something look like glass is often a challenge, or often kind of a mystery to many people. And so anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you really like this tutorial, go ahead and like and go ahead and subscribe to here at the Genius Studios Lab. You know, it really helps us out. And I look forward to seeing you on the next tutorial.